Have you ever noticed how difficult it can be to say no to someone sometimes? How the idea of disappointing someone can make us feel guilty even when we've done nothing wrong? Well, if this is happening to you, it's not because you're too nice or weak, and I'm going to tell you why in this video. And I'm also going to give you a technique or a couple of techniques to stop it happening and give you a little bit more resilience and strength in your boundaries when you're saying no. My name's Matt, I'm a psychotherapist and meditation teacher, and I've spent years helping clients get their minds working for them rather than against them. So the way the survival mind assesses our social status and whether we're liked or not is through validation from others. It's obsessed with external validation, and it will do things like avoid conflict, overwork, overpromise, and it will do things like sacrifice our own opinions and beliefs in order to get this external validation, to make sure that we're not causing too many ripples in our social and work life for us to be disliked or for our social status to drop. And so validation is really the way the survival mind traps us in this cycle of people pleasing, but it's also the key to escaping it. In order for us to start operating from a place of self and self-assurance and confidence and living our lives authentically, we have to start being able to give the survival mind the validation it craves ourselves, without the help of others, to decide for ourselves when enough is enough, and also to decide when a conflict is worth taking on, or when we can engage in conversation, in work, or in our social lives, in a way that is more authentic and is going to move towards best outcome rather than just keeping the peace in order for us to be liked and then feeling resentful about it later. So the first real surefire way to move yourself out the survival mind's agenda and stop you people pleasing is to ask yourself this very simple question when you're doing something or about to take something on that you're unsure whether you want to or not. And you need to ask yourself, if I did this thing and nobody thanked me, would I still do it? Just ask yourself that question when you're overwhelmed or you're unsure about whether taking more on is the right decision or not. If no one thanked me, would I still do this? That simple question can sometimes snap us out of the survival mind's agenda and move us back into our own perspective. Now, another way that we can live more authentically and stop people pleasing is to decide what our values are and live towards them. So we can sit down and actually think about how we want to live our lives. What are the values that we want to guide us through life? So, for example, we could say that kindness was really important to us and an intrinsic value that we'd want to live by. We could say creativity is, for example, or responsibility or reliability, resilience. All these sorts of things are important values that we can live by. And what I would suggest to you is you sit down and create a value matrix for yourself. 5 ideals, around about 5. You can do a little bit more if you want, but don't go too far. Maybe 5, 6, 7 at a push. 5 intrinsic values that you want to live your life by. And then use them as your North Star to guide you when that feedback and external validation isn't coming, when the survival mind is trying to get you to do more and more and more in order to get people's approval. You can sit down and say, am I living up to my values in this situation? And if I am living up to those values, that is enough. As we connect to the values that we want to live our life by and that we've thought about, we start to feel that we are living more authentically and more in line with our needs, desires, and goals. And when we do this, we find that we can start to move through life living up to these values and also feeling more centered and calm as a result. So give it a try. Sit yourself down, think about where you want to be and what you want to live by. Once you've decided, it becomes a lot easier to say no, to actually say no, this is not in line with the way that I want to live my life. Also, I feel that I've done enough because I've lived up to these 5 things in this situation that I've set myself. Now, the final way I'm going to give you to stop you getting lost in other people's opinions of you or start to feel guilty when you say no is actually to redefine your relationship to the word no. Often we see saying no as a negative, that we're losing something or we're disappointing people by saying no. But actually, no, first of all, allows people to know your limits. And so maybe they'll stop asking you to do things in the same way. So that resentment when they do and we accept starts to fall away. Also, when we say no, we give people the opportunity to give responsibility to people with more capacity. And this, of course, is going to lead to better outcomes. In the end, if the work is spread, if the social engagement is spread to a wider group of people, then the outcome is going to be better because everybody's going to be able to carry the load that they can manage. If people are taking too much on in search for validation, then they're not going to be able to perform as well, and therefore the outcomes aren't going to be that great for anyone. And so no can be really positive. Also, when we say yes to something, we say no to something else. And so we should assess what is important to us, often using our value structure, in order to make sure that when we're saying yes, that the things we're saying no to aren't things that we actually want to be doing. And so no can be a real good way of just pausing, of setting some boundaries to give you some time to think. It can reassess the word no. It can also put boundaries in place so people know where your capacity is and are able to give work to other people or attention to other people who have more capacity. And it can lead to better outcomes for everybody. And so there are 3 really good ways to stop yourself getting lost in the search for validation and people pleasing. First of all, ask yourself, if no one thanked me, would I still do it? Sit down, create a value matrix for yourself that you can live up to, and then say to yourself, I have done enough. I am living authentically. And also start to shift your relationship to the word no. It is not always a negative. It can lead to better outcomes, it can lead to more opportunities, and it can start to move you towards things that you actually want to do and the life that you actually want to lead. If this video is useful, please like and subscribe, and I will also see you in our school community.